Welcome back to another episode of the Rational Football League Show. My name is Emmett. I'm here with my co-host Brendyn Ford.
Yo, what's up, y'all?
We are on episode 27, guys. Thank you for those that have been listening with us so far, and hopefully you keep enjoying what we do. You guys can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, TikTok, and Twitter. We got some fun segments. We're going to be looking at the college football playoff and seeing which teams we think have the best chance to make it, what the strengths and weaknesses. And we're going to be discussing the Giants' future at quarterback a little later on. So stick with us throughout that. But first things first, kicking it off with that fun Thursday night football game. I know most people don't seem to enjoy them. I kind of enjoy them a little bit. We have the Bears taking on the Panthers. The Bears won 16-13. Bryce Young went 21 of 38 for 185 yards. Tyson Beignet went 20 of 33. Sorry, I got the New Orleans shirt on. I was just thinking Beignets in my head. I was like, oh, that sounds so fucking good.
It sounds so good.
He went 20 of 33 for 162 yards. Deontay Foreman had 21 carries for 80 yards and a touchdown. And, oh, my gosh, Emir Smith Marsetti had a punt return for a touchdown. Musset? Okay.
Yeah.
I apologize. I am very terrible with names. I try, but, my pronunciations always are not fantastic of it.
We can't be perfect,
No. We try our best. And if we need to be correct on the name pronunciation, I'm never concerned with that. I want to get your name right. But all right, B,
yep.
as our local Bears fan, why don't you tell us what your takeaways were from the game?
I've been very impressed with that Bears defense over the last 3 or 4 weeks. They didn't give up a whole lot of points for a while. The Panthers' only points was that punt return for a touchdown. So they've been playing solid. Tyson's secret man, Bagent, gets another win for the Bears this season, which is great to see. Deontay Foreman, dude, that dude runs it angry. I think I talked about this before on the pod. It's still a mystery to me as to why he was inactive and on the bench for the first 5 weeks of the season. Like, if I'm the Bears, I'm writing him out for the rest of this season, dude, honestly, as my lead back, even when Herbert comes back from the IR. He just brings a whole nother level of aggression and power to that offense, which I really, really, really like. That's kind of my first thoughts for the Panthers. Bryce Young is playing like a rookie. You know what I mean? He doesn't have a whole lot of help around him too, which doesn't work in his favor. That's basically it, man. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to start by saying this. I really like the Thursday night football games being two bad teams. I know we see complaints every week of people, well, why isn't this a good team? Flex this out, switch it out. I'm not watching this. It's like, you know what? For me, I live on the West Coast. This is the first time I've gotten to see Bryce Young play all season. It's cool to kind of see some of those guys that you don't normally get to see play because they're not getting primetime games. If they're not in your region, you don't get to watch them at all. So I think it's a great opportunity to highlight some maybe rookies on bad teams or some just teams you don't really get to see. Like Charles Johnson, I forgot how great he was for the Panthers, C lineman number 95. Got to watch him, do some damage against the Bears solid O-line Thursday. As for the game itself, I think it was a good one for the Bears. They needed to win this one because it keeps the Panthers in contention for the number 1 overall pick, which obviously the Bears have. I think from the Panthers' perspective, I think it's so fucking hard to judge Bryce Young right now because remember when we talked in the preseason and we watched Bryce Young? Yeah, we were watching his throws, and I commented then, I was like, it seems like they just run a lot of like hitches and sticks and stuff like that. Quick game route. Just 5 yards, sit down, just give your chest to the quarterback. And we thought, maybe it's just preseason. They keep it vanilla. They don't want to show what they're doing. And Thursday, I watched again, and that's all it seemed like they were doing. It was hitches, it was stick routes, an occasional slant, and an occasional crosser. But they didn't ever seem to want to attack that intermediate part of the field, the 10 to 15-yard range. And I don't know if that's because they don't trust their O-line. I don't know if that's they don't trust the receiving options. It's so hard to play under that condition when the defense is just playing, 10 yards within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. It's hard to get people open. Pair that with you got guys dropping the ball, which I saw a lot of. And it's like it seems like Bryce Young is making the right throws. It just seems like there's just not a lot available for whatever reason. So that's my takeaway from
Agreed.
it. I
Agreed.
wouldn't give up on Bryce Young yet. I feel for him because he's being compared to your classmate CJ Stroud, who's going off. But I don't think he is getting any help at all. Weapons wise, I mean, Adam Thielen's playing great, but besides that, nothing. The O line's been atrocious. The play calling has been frustrating. I mean, it seriously has. Again, I watched that. I think I even tweeted out during the game. Are they allergic to these intermediate throws? I know that. I know. I think
Mm-hmm.
who was it? I think it was Kirk Brightstreet, whatever his name is. Was commenting, oh, they're playing this shell coverage.
Herb Street, yeah.
Herb Street, yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, they're playing this shell coverage. It's like, okay, but you can still find ways to attack that. You can, if it's a cover 3, you can still run, a trips, seams package where you're trying to like high low the middle backer, or you're trying to do something to that kind of effect. Like, you can still find ways to attack a defense, especially when they've been sitting in it all night. But I'll leave it there. That was my takeaway. I'm not giving up on Bryce Young yet. I saw some positive things there, and I just think that team is so bad. It really is. So
yeah, and it's easy for us fans too to say like, oh, well, look at CJ Stroud, he's doing so well. I think we have to remember like CJ Stroud's performance so far in his rookie season is really like unprecedented. Like he is going off.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't remember another rookie quarterback that had the start that he had right now. I think he owes the record for like most like passing yards by a rookie in his first season right now, or something like that. The first 9 or 10 games this season so far, some shit like that. So I mean, we have to keep that in back of our minds. Like if we're saying, oh, Bryce Young's a bust because look at what CJ Stroud is doing, that's the wrong mindset. You can't give up on a guy halfway through his rookie year when he's playing on a 1-win team. Like it's the Panthers team is bad. It's bad.
And I am just going to throw this out there, and I don't mean it in a negative way, so please don't take it as that way. I do expect to see some regression from CJ Stroud at some point here. I mean, just because the pace that he's playing at is so unbelievable, there always is a little bit of a regression to the mean. I'm not saying he's going to also start throwing 3-pick games. I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying I wouldn't keep expecting 400 passing yard games,
right,
or something like that. I'd probably expect him to reduce a little bit down to like 250 average or like a touchdown or 2 average, but he's still playing fantastic.
Right.
But
yeah,
I just think it's
if he finishes the season with 5, if he finishes the season with 5,000 yards passing, I'll tip my hat off to him. That's wild, beyond wild for a rookie.
Yeah, that would just be the most.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't pick. I'd be like a rookie running back coming in and just dropping 20 touchdowns in their first season. It's unheard of. It's almost impossible to do. So again, he's playing fantastic. Yeah. He's been playing fantastic, but I do expect there's probably going to be a little bit of a regression to the mean. So that doesn't mean he's going to play badly. It just means we might not see any more 400 or 500 yard passing games. Perfect. So next on the docket, Kyler Murray and James Conner are expected to make their returns for the Cardinals this weekend. Kyler Murray coming off the ACL injury that he suffered last year, and James Conner, I believe, had a shoulder injury. Am I correct? Early in the year,
shoulder. I think so.
I believe it was shoulder. It could be hamstring, but I believe it was shoulder. Either way, they're both set to make their debuts again. The returns this week. Any thoughts for how that might affect the Cardinal season?
I, as a local Bears fan here on the show, I kind of hope it does. I kind of hope they win more games. So the Bears could get that unlocked for first overall pick via the Panthers pick. Also, it helps out my fantasy team because I have been having quarterback problems, and I saw Murray available on the wire. So go ahead and scooped him up. Now, do I think he's going to play lights out today? I don't know. First game in 11 months since his ACL tear, I think. Yeah. I think it's 11 months to the exact day, too. So I kind of hope he goes out there and balls out. James Conner is also like a good option for fantasy. He's been solid for the last 2 seasons. I know he will bring a lot of power back to that offense. And, I kind of hope they go out and win a few more games for the last few weeks.
Yeah, I think I tweeted it out a few weeks ago now. I said, because I think someone was asking, like, oh, who's your second half team of the year. I put don't be surprised. Don't sleep on the Cardinals. I mean, Kyler Murray's coming back. He's a great quarterback when he's available to play. The Gannon came from the Eagles system with read options and what they do with Jalen Hurts, which Kyler Murray very much can do himself. So that will also help what you mentioned, the James Conner play with the read options. I do expect them to start winning some ball games here in the second half. I mean, again, without Kyler Murray, with Josh Dobbs playing, they've been in pretty much every game this year. I think having that next level of a quarterback can really take them over the top. So I'm really interested to see how they finish out this year. I don't think they'll be in contention for the number 1 pick when it's all said and done. I think they'll probably be more of that 8 to 10 range.
Thank you.
My guess. Hey, don't you got a new competitor? You got the Giants now. Remember?
Fuck the Giants.
They just lost Daniel Jones for the year. They also don't have oh my God, Darren Waller. Darren Waller's out for the year. Evan Neal, the right tackle, just got hurt for a few weeks, I believe.
Waller's out? I didn't even know that. What the hell is going on? Just the tank, huh?
Another hamstring injury. Yep, the tank is on in New York. So I expect New York now to have a top 5 pick. It could be even number 1. I think they have 2 wins on the year. Right?
No. Yeah, they have 2. Panthers have 1. So if the Panthers can lose out, hey, I'm sorry, Panther fans, if you're out there. Hey, man. Hey, this is not personal, but I hope you all just lose out.
Yeah. So I'm saying you gotta watch out for the Giants because and they still have to play the Eagles twice, I believe. They still have to play the Commanders again. I think they got the Cowboys one more time on their schedule.
I believe in Tommy, bro. Come on, man. He's gonna get out there, ball out.
My Italian brother from New York. Gotta believe in him.
Yeah, man. No, man, right. They are cooked.
Yeah, they are. I saw a headline this morning too that said the Giants owner was already getting his breaking point with Brian Dable and their GM about the losses, and he needed to see them turn around this year if they wanted to keep their jobs. And I saw
really?
that. I saw it, and I started laughing my ass off because, like, dude, aren't you the one that fucking pushed to extend Daniel Jones? Like, you kind of set them up for this situation.
And I'm really surprised considering that I'm really sorry. One last note. They won a playoff game last year.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised. They're like, hey man, turn around this season, even though you have no one on this damn team who can play right now.
I know exactly.
They have no talent with Jones being hurt. Yeah. Weird, man.
I don't know the validity of the story. It was just a quick story I saw this morning. It could be true, could be not. It'd be really stupid if it is, but we will see. It would be the Giants becoming the Jets if they made that kind of a move.
Yes.
All right, perfect. So Justin Jefferson is nearing a return from a hamstring injury. He could be good to go next week. I know initially there was a thought that he might be able to play this week. He was questionable at one point, but as being informed me this morning, they downgraded him to out for this week. They just didn't feel like his hamstring was good to go, which is good for me because I almost activated him off my fantasy IR, and that would have really sucked to quickly throw him into the lineup, get off the podcast, and be like, oh shit, he's not playing. So
we have a goose egg.
Yeah, bug me. All right. Any additional thoughts to that one, B?
No, I mean he'll come back when he's ready. I think that maybe there's making sure that, like you said, he's 100% ready. Seeing as though like a new quarterback in town now with Dobbs playing and stuff like that, they're trying to make a push and make the playoffs. Yeah, just wait till he's healthy. I'm guessing he'll play next week. And things will be fine there.
Yeah, I don't see it doing any good to bring him back for the game today to re-injure his hamstring in the second quarter, raising out the rest of the year. So I think it's a smart move by them. What else we got here? Speaking of the team the Vikings are playing today, in Saints world, Michael Thomas was arrested for simple battery and criminal mischief. He allegedly threw a brick at a construction worker's truck for parking in front of his house. Allegedly. We are including the allegedly part.
Michael Thomas, what the hell, bro? I have no words for this.
That's
what the hell?
That's just a rough decision.
I'm guessing he's not playing, right? I mean, I'm looking at Twitter right now. I think he was ruled out maybe an hour ago. Like, which is,
Yeah,
I guess,
that would
common
track.
sense. I guess
Well,
would track.
what's going on down in the bayou? I mean, you got Chris Olave getting a, what was it, speeding the other day, get pulled over by the officer and looking like
Yeah,
an idiot for going, well, I'm a receiver for the Saints, and the cop going, I don't care. And now you
hit
got
him with the
Michael
and.
Thomas, and I'm a Bengals fan. I know the fuck you're talking about. No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
It's who day, not who dad. What the fuck? No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on down the bayou. They need to tighten it up down there.
It's just so
It's that
random,
time.
dog. Like, why would
It's
you?
that time of the year.
Like, why would you? It's that time of year. I guess something up in the air down there, and you got people throwing bricks at people's cars.
And
Dog,
you know
what the hell?
I will say, in defense of Michael Thomas and Chris Olave, I will say this: in defense of them, we've been to New Orleans. We've been down there. Remember what happened to us down
We
there?
have.
Yeah, I started walking around with half a pair of jeans. So
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
It's
wild.
Down,
It's
the
wild
whole back
down
of
there.
my jeans was missing. So it's wild. I can get to you at some point.
Yeah. He does. He's just losing his mind.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's just what happens in New Orleans. It is what it is.
I'm tired of this shit. This dumb stuff.
I wouldn't even. Again, remember what we were told that what New Orleans Police Department stands for. Not our problem, dude. So you thought the cops are going to show up.
Oh my
They're not
god!
coming. Fuck it.
Not our problem. They have near, dog.
You don't remember that shit when the tour, the coach guy told us that? He goes, yeah, that's what NOPD stands for down here. Not our problem, dude.
I'll be honest.
Damn.
I probably was like drinking stuff. I probably don't remember, dog. You know.
Yeah, you did. That's some craziness. Moving on to some unfortunate news. Sad news. Former first-round pick DJ Hayden for the Raiders was among 6 killed in a car crash early Saturday morning in Houston. He was 33. So
man, sad. Rest his soul, man. I think it was another like drunk driving thing too, if I'm not mistaken.
I was reading a little bit. I think it was someone ran the red light. Just very unfortunate. Very sad to see.
In a world where we have Uber and Lyft, people still out there being stupid, man. It's sad.
It's always a safe way to get home, guys. Don't drink and drive. It's never worth it. Moving on to our final piece of news for the day, we're going to turn to the college world for this one. Jim Harbaugh will be suspended from coaching on the sideline for Michigan for the rest of the regular season. He can still coach throughout the week, though. So, is this the dumbest ruling you've ever heard in your life, or?
Big Ten, what are you doing, man? Like, I have so many problems with this. One, it's like it feels like a 1 foot in, 1 foot out approach, right? They're like, oh yeah, let's just suspend him for the games, but he can coach during the week. What the hell does he even do, right? Like, either go all in or all out, right? Don't suspend him at all, or suspend him completely for being around like the team. And to drop that ruling, I think they dropped it Friday night before a top 10 matchup. Like, dude, that's like super weak. And Harbaugh doesn't even like call any plays. Like he just game manages. So like what impact does that? I mean, he's just chilling at the hotel, I guess, is eating food. Like he's just like, okay, like I just have a day off, I guess.
Yes.
What I mean? It's stupid, man. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I want to include this backstory. For those who are unaware of what we're talking about right now, Michigan was allegedly caught sign stealing. So sending a player or a person to other teams' games that they were going to play in the week and having them try to crack the code on what their signs were. So that way when they'd see them when they played them, they could accurately predict. From what's been informed to me, this is not a uncommon practice. I mean, even I know back when we played, we don't sign steal, but you definitely are watching other teams' formations, trying to see, out of this package, you typically run this shit, which is a little different. I've heard arguments on both sides of it, so we won't get into all that. But it definitely feels like this was a move by the Big Ten to just kind of accommodate a lot of the athletic directors that were putting pressure on the commissioner to do something. Like they clearly, you guys aren't going to go let them win a national championship while they've just been supposedly caught stealing signs. Like that doesn't sit right. So I think this is just kind of like their their olive branch extension. It's stupid. It doesn't make any fucking sense. And I mean, again, if Michigan makes the playoffs, Jim Harbaugh gets to come right back to the sidelines. So, what's the fucking point? At least suspend him for the rest of the season at that point. Then, would make more sense to me as an actual punishment. It's weak. It just feels like I said. It feels like it was just like here, shut up, guys. We'll give you this. There it is.
Exactly. It does. Exactly.
I do want to add a slight positive spin to this. This season, like I say, coaches, you kind of can go, oh, what do they really do? Oh, they're going to bounce to the next team like it's nothing. Whatever, who cares, right? Like you kind of see coaches who they move themselves up levels, they move to the NFL, whatever it is. It has been really cool to see the impact Harbaugh clearly has on the players, the program, and his staff there. How they responded the first time he got suspended, coming out with the free Harbaugh shirts and stuff like that. And now this time he had the offensive coordinator doing a post-game interview where he was just crying over the situation and how it all played out and stuff like that. So I think it is a cool testament to see what he does mean to that program and to those people in the building. So I do want to add that positive spin to it right there.
They love him.
Oh yeah, they do.
I know in love with him.
I know there's been a lot of chatter about him moving to the NFL. After kind of seeing how people respond to him.
Hey, I know a team that can use him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know
a team. I know a team that he used to play for.
The Colts.
The good old Navy. A little bit to like the west. A little bit to the west. Come on, baby. The Bears need you, Jim. Come on, man.
I'm very curious to see what he does in this offseason because, like I said, you can obviously tell the impact he means to that Michigan program, and they're going to offer him a lot of money to stay. And he also he can return back to the NFL, a place he wanted to go win a Super Bowl. He had a chance with the 49ers, but couldn't follow through. He was never able to get there as a player, so I'm really curious to see where he gets pulled this offseason.
Yeah, same here.
Alrighty, guys. Thank you for sticking with us through our News of the Week segment. That does conclude us. The news. It was kind of a slower week, it seemed like. With that, we're going to turn to our Games of the Week. We do this segment every week. Usually we're pretty hot. I think last week we went 2-2 on the season. I don't remember. Yeah, we're both over 500 for the season. So if you're looking to make some money, definitely. I'm not saying we win all the time, but we win enough to definitely do better than break even.
You won't lose money with us, but I don't know if you'll make it though.
That's not a great endorsement. We make money here. There we go. All the training portfolios look fantastic so far. In these games. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so we have 4 games. Before we get too deep into this, I want you guys to go into the comment section and tell us right now, what game are you watching tomorrow or today? Who are you most excited for? Who are you taking? Let us know in the comment section. While you're down there, why don't you give us a like and subscribe? We do this every week. We love making these videos. We love talking to you guys in the comment section. We usually are pretty quick to respond. But yeah, let us know who you're watching, who you're taking. Do you agree with our picks? Do you disagree? Tell us. First game up on the docket, we have 49ers Jaguars. This game is going to be in Jacksonville. The 49ers are actually favored by 3. Both teams are coming off their bye. ESPN is giving the 49ers a 56% chance of winning. The weather is going to be 68 degrees, cloudy, with about 12-mile-an-hour winds. B, who are you taking in this game?
Hey, man. Okay. Niners coming off a bye. Okay, I think actually the Jags are too, so I can't really use that as a point. Both teams are rested.
Yep.
But okay, I got a Niners parlay set up for today. Okay, I think they get right. I'm taking the Niners to win today. Even though I am cursed, I'll say that. So with the parlay, I might have jinxed them. I might have jinxed them, but I'm taking the Niners, baby. Come on.
Yeah, I don't like the same teams as you because that's never worked out for us. But I will say in this instance, it has to be a get right game for the 49ers. Both teams are coming off a bye, absolutely. But the 49ers are getting two potential key additions back. They've gone the last 3 games without Deebo Samuel, who's a huge part of the offense. He is back and healthy this week. He will be playing. Trent Williams, who is a difference maker. He's a future Hall of Famer. He's the best left tackle in football. Gets the rest of that O-line right. Their run game has been atrocious since he's been out. He was questionable last I saw, but I believe with the intention of him playing. I haven't seen Twitter this morning. I haven't checked it this morning. That could change. From my understanding, right now he is playing. So with those 2 key additions back versus Jacksonville, they had the bye week. Kyle Shanahan looks at the defense, meets with the defense coordinator, and makes corrections as need. Usually this is the point of the season where the 49ers defense turns it around. Steve Wilkes is not the first defensive coordinator for the 49ers who people have demanded to be fired. Happened to D'Amico Ryans, happened to Robert Saleh. I think they both figured it out pretty well. And Kyle Shanahan, for as much of an offensive guru he is, he actually got his start with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2002 coaching defense. So he knows what he's doing on that side. He's going to he's going to work with Steve Wilkes to make the proper adjustments they need to start executing the plays properly. Steve Wilkes is also moving down to the field. Take that however you will. But I think this is a game the 49ers need to get right. So for those reasons, I am taking 49ers in this one. Boom. Moving on to our next game, we have Lions versus Chargers. Should be a fun one. This game is going to be in LA. The Lions are favored by 3. So again, we have the away team being favored versus the home team by 3. ESPN gives the Lions a 59% chance of winning. And the game is in a dome, but it's going to be 64 degrees outside. It's a dome game. Weather shouldn't play a factor in it. Who are you taking, Chargers or Lions?
Chargers have been playing good football over the past few weeks, but give me the Lions, man. I think the Lions defense is strong. Now the Chargers are going to get their points, but they're going to make the Chargers earn it. I think the Lions come out and win this on the road.
I'm trying to find a way to contradict it. I can't. The Chargers coaching is so questionable for me. I know they've kind of looked better the last couple of weeks. Off the top of my head, I can't even remember who they fucking played the last couple of weeks. But I don't believe they've been good teams. The Lions also are getting David Montgomery back today. I believe I did see that. I'll take the Lions. I think they just have too much firepower on offense. And that Chargers defense is so bad. Justin Herbert hasn't been clutch for whatever reason. I can't tell you why. He seems to usually struggle against better teams too, which the Lions are this year. Good for them. So for those, I'll take the Lions as well.
Yeah.
Moving.
So we either have 2 wins or two losses, man. Here we go.
No, I don't like it. Moving on to the AFC North battle. Speaking of for the defenses, for defensive lovers, check in on this one. Ravens versus Browns. This game is going to be in Baltimore, where the Ravens are favored by 6.5. ESPN gives the Ravens a 70% chance of winning. It's going to be 58 degrees out with a slight wind. And those divisional games go, they're always up in the air, wishy-washy. These teams know each other well. 2 top defenses in the NFL. Give me your take. Who are you picking?
Yeah, dude, it's going to be a slugfest, man. 2 top, they're going to go at it. It's going to be a lot of running. But I think the Ravens are one of the best teams in the league right now, man. I know Watson's coming back for Browns. He's healthy-ish, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
He played a full game last week, but you never know what this. I think it's like an AC joint injury or something like that, or like a rotator cuff thing going on. Yeah. Lamar Jackson is playing great football. The offense is humming. Yeah, give me the Ravens at home, man. I feel like it's almost like a no-brainer.
Yeah, I do want to correct something you said. You said the Ravens are one of the best teams in football right now. They are the best team in football right now. They are just dominating people. I mean,
they are. They are.
The only hesitation I have about saying that is that whenever we give someone that fucking monochrome, they always bomb the next week. It's like the Cowboys are the best team in football. Got blown up by the 49ers. The 49ers are the best team in football. Drop the next 3. It's like every time we give that moniker to the team, they immediately shit the bed. This team's the best defense. The Browns are the best defense, or Cowboys' best defense. Blown up by 49ers. 49ers are the best defense. Blown out a couple times. The Browns have the best defense. Gave up 38 to Gardner Minshew. Every time we give the team that fucking monochrome, they always shit the bed on. I as
Jinx.
well. I as well will be taking the Ravens. I learned early on this season to not pick against the Ravens. I did twice at first, lost both times. Not doing that again. If you got money, bet the Ravens every time.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna come out ahead. They have looked so good this year. The defense seems like it is finally clicking. They look like the 2000 Ravens, and I know that's a tough thing to bring up because that's such a historic great defense. But they are playing on that pace. Lamar Jackson and they have a new offense coordinator this year. We talked about in the preseason or before the season that we were excited to see what the Ravens offense is going to look like. It has looked revitalized. They look rejuvenated, throwing the ball a bunch more. Lamar still being Lamar. He looks healthy for the first time in years. And even with their fourth string running back, Gus Edwards now, they are still dominating teams. So I'm not picking against the Ravens the rest of the year. Even when they play the 49ers later on, I still may pick the Ravens. So
Hey, hold on now.
Yeah, give me the Ravens this one. So far we are 3 of 3 picking the same. Final game of the week: Saints Vikings. This game is in Minnesota. The Saints are favored by 3. Again, the away team. I don't know. It's an away team festival today.
Yeah.
ESPN is predicting it to be Saints have a 49.7% chance of winning. The Vikings have a 49.9% chance of winning. So it should be a tight game between two average teams. It will be in a dome because Minnesota, but it will be 43 degrees outside. Not that that plays a role into it. It's going to be in a dome. So, who are you taking, Saints or Vikings?
This might be where we differ with our picks. Actually, I can't say that. I don't know what or who you're going to pick. But I'm gonna go with the Vikings, man. Even though it's a weird storyline. You have Dobbs coming in. He probably knows the playbook a little bit more than he did last week when Kevin O'Connell was seriously in his ear telling him the play, like the route concept and what to look for before the snap happened. But I don't think the Saints are all that good, man, to be honest with you. I watched a couple of their games. They seem wishy-washy. Their offense is a little bit, I don't know. Something about them, and with Michael Thomas, testing out his arm and throwing bricks at cars. Like he's not playing today, so he's down a weapon. Like I just see this as, I don't know. I see this as a trap game for the Saints. So I'm gonna take the Vikings. Skull.
What's funny is before you start saying all that, actually, I was thinking Vikings. I was like, the Saints have a lot of distractions going on right now. The Vikings have looked good. I got Addison Dobbs looked good last week, and I want to bet against a guy that's done well in Arizona and now in Minnesota. But I'm gonna stick with the Saints. I mentioned it a couple weeks ago when they played. I think it was the Thursday night football game against the Jaguars, and they lost barely. Had the tight end with the fingertip Forte or whatever his last name is with the fingertip miss. And I said it then. I was like, they may have lost this game, but their offense seemed to finally turn around. They finally hit the click. They finally seemed to have figured it out. And since then, they have looked good on offense. They've figured out how to use Taysom Hill. Alvin Kamara has come back and looked like Alvin Kamara. I don't think Michael Thomas has been much of a factor this season, has he?
I think he has, actually, for them offensively. Let me look up, though.
I know he just scored his first touchdown a couple weeks ago.
Let me see.
Well, while you're checking on that, I'm going to keep going.
I mean, he hasn't really.
So him not playing really isn't in a
he hasn't put up crazy numbers. Yeah, he has 440 receiving yards so far this year off 39 catches and touchdowns. So not great number, but he puts up 40 to 60 yards a game, basically, off a few catches. So
average numbers. They still have Chris Olave. That defense has been among a top 10 defense in the league this year. Their corners are still fantastic. Cameron Jordan looks like Cameron Jordan again. They have one of the best linebackers in Demario Davis. Again, I know this game's in Minnesota, but I'm going to take the Saints. Again, I think they really turned the corner with the offense in the offense this season. I mean, even like I said, going back to the Taysom Hill thing.
Yeah, I think my opinion of them is still skewed when I played the Bears last week. The Bears' offense was trash. They gave the ball five times. They were -5 in turnover margin, and they only put up like 24 points on the Bears and beat them by like 7. So I was like, I don't know, when he won a turnover battle by 5. But no, to your point though, they have been on fire. They put up 38 against the Colts. They put up 24 against the Jags. Those are the last few weeks here. So
Yeah, so I think they finally clicked and figured it out against Jacksonville. So I'm taking the Saints. That's the first game, only game we've differentiated on. So we got, let's see. We both picked 49ers, we both picked Ravens, and we both picked the Lions, right? All right, perfect.
Yep.
So guys, why don't you head down to the comment section, let us know what you think again. Tell us what game you're watching. Do you agree with our picks? Do you disagree with our picks? Since the one we split on was the Vikings Saints, why don't you guys tell us what you think? Do you think the Saints could pull it off, or do you think the Vikings found new life under Josh Dobbs? If this is where we're losing you, thanks for watching. We always appreciate it. We will now be moving on to our segments of the week. We do normally do 2 segments every week, ranging topics from college to NFL to whatever else it would be. For this week, like we kind of mentioned in the opening, we're going to look at the top 5 college teams this season. The ones that have the best chance to make the playoffs right now because they're all undefeated. We're going to start breaking down their strengths, their weaknesses, what we see going for them. So let's get right into it, B. So before we get right into it, why don't you guys hop down in the comment section and let us know what you think. Who do you think of the top 5? Who do you think is going to win it all this year? Does Georgia have a three-peat? Do we have a surprise contender? Can Michigan, shut out the outside noise and take the title? Let us know what you think in the comment section. Again, hit the like button. Give us a subscribe if you aren't subscribed to us. We do this every week. We love talking with you guys, and we usually respond pretty quick when you get to the comments. But let's go through their weaknesses first, B. For those that don't know, we have 5 teams in the top 10 in no particular order. We have Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State, and Washington. B, I'll let you go first with Georgia. What is the weakness of Georgia?
Yeah, Georgia. I mean, what are they not good at? Like we were thinking about, we were talking in our pre-show prepping for this segment, and I was looking over the numbers. I was like, what even is there to even nitpick about this team? I mean, at this point in time, I'm surprised if they don't have to repeat this season. I mean, they are just so damn good. And last night, beat the brakes off Ole Miss, and that was a top 10 team. I'm like, damn, dude. I mean, this is kind of a lame point. This is kind of a duck, but I'm just put it out there. I mean, maybe the biggest weakness right now is Carson Beck being a first-year starter. He is a junior, but he is inexperienced. Again, sorry for Georgia fans or college football fans, whatever. I have not watched every single snap of Georgia to watch Carson Beck in action. I didn't dive deep into his film, so I, for one, think he's super, super good. But just looking at, his numbers, he has thrown 5 picks this year. I don't know how those picks happened. Where was he just inaccurate with the football? Did he make a bad decision? The ball get tipped up and just got picked up. I don't know how that happens. But he did throw 5 picks so far this season, so maybe you can say his inexperience with being out there and playing and read in the field or whatnot caused him to turn over the ball and not being safe with it. And again, that's a lame point because I'm looking at the rest of their numbers and they look strong across the board on all units.
I will say that's fair. I don't think it's a lame point. I think it's a fair point because, there's a human side to this. These aren't people. They're not machines. It's not, Madden. He is a first-year starter, which, you can get through a regular season. But now when you start playing only the big boys, you want to start playing Ohio States and Michigans and Florida States and those kind of teams. The margin for error is much smaller. The game moves a little bit quicker, like we saw with Ohio State, Georgia last year, where no one had picked Ohio State to win that game, but it came down to the wire. I'm not saying I don't think Georgia can win it all. I'm just saying I think that's a fair point because there is a human element to this game. For me, the weakness I have for Georgia is their strength of schedule. I mean, they don't have many holes in the roster. That's just the fact of life. They are by far the best team in college football, and it's just weird because I haven't had a chance to watch a whole lot of their tape, but they are just dominating teams week in, week out. Like I said, just beat the brakes off of a top 10 Ole Miss team, who I have watched a couple of games, and I thought they were a pretty solid team. But here's my concern with them. Right? They haven't. I'm sorry. They maybe don't have a top 10 college top 10 quarterback in college football. I did include that in my points. But you can ask Stetson Bennett how much that really played a role in preventing them from winning 2 national titles. But they still have to play Tennessee next. They play Tennessee this week. Who did just get their breaks beat off by Mizzou, but still Tennessee. It's still a rivalry game. It's still big game. Those two don't like each other at all. Then you got to finish the season playing number 8 Alabama, who probably is going to be moving up a little bit more. They just had a dominating win as well. And it kind of takes me back to a little bit we talked about earlier in the season when Alabama was playing Texas. And I said, if Texas was playing Alabama late in the year, I would take Alabama 10 times out of 10. Because like we've seen now, they've turned it around. They've figured it out. Jalen Milroe again compared to Lamar Jackson, Michael Vick, and Percy Harvin, and all these other guys, Reggie Bush, and all these other guys. He seems to have finally figured it out. That young, inexperienced roster has now got the experience they need. So I don't think they're any slouch. I think, after this week, they'll probably move to about 6, probably, maybe 7, depending on how teams felt about Oregon's beating of USC. So you have still got to play your 2 biggest rivals here in Tennessee and Alabama, and then sandwiched in between those two, you have Georgia Tech. An in-state rivalry game, but a potential trap game there. While you just got done beating the crap out of Tennessee, and now you have to look forward to Alabama. It could be a potential possibility, maybe, that they overlook Georgia Tech a little bit here. And I don't want to get into scenarios and how this all shake out if they do lose to Alabama. But for me, that's what I think the biggest weakness is for them. And it's not much of a weakness, but it's still technically something that needs to be considered. You still have to play Alabama, who has clearly flipped the switch. You have a potential trap game in Georgia Tech, and you have a huge rivalry game this week against Tennessee. So,
yeah, and the +1 that too. They might have to play Bama twice, right? We were talking about the pre-show. They might have to play him again in the at the conference title game. So it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be a gauntlet.
That will be interesting how that plays out. Because even if they beat Alabama, you got to play them again the next week after that. So, moving on. Michigan. What do you think is the weakness for Michigan?
Yeah, this is another good team. I watched a few of their games this season. I was looking over the numbers too. They don't have many gaps either. Again, this might be a duck of a point, but this is more posed as a question for their weakness. Is are they able to play from behind, being as a run first team? I haven't seen them tested a whole lot this season, right? And as we get in the later stages of this season, you will have to play OSU. And then assuming they win the Big Ten, you will have to play a really good team in the playoff. Are you going to be able just to dominate, that team in the run game? Again, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here, right? But let's say they play a Georgia. Georgia has a top 10 defense in the entire country. Are you going to be able to impose your will on them to run the ball and rely on your tough defense and running the ball to win that game? What if there's a scenario where they're down 14-0 in the first quarter, just somehow, right? Do they have enough weapons in the passing game to kind of make up that gap? So that's my first point. And then my second point, we kind of alluded to it early on in the podcast here, is they're off the field distractions throughout the entire season. With Jim Harbaugh, I mean, we talked about his suspension. Doesn't seem much of a conflict. I mean, he's still being with the team for the rest of the season here. During the week, he won't be there on the sidelines, but it kind of makes you wonder that, they are humans and they're dealing with all this off the field stuff to just catch up with them over the last few weeks of this season. So those are my 2 points here.
Yeah, and
what are your thoughts on them?
I think those are fair points. I definitely put the same thing as for their weakness. That's the outside noise. It has to be. You compare that with, again, they've played a weaker schedule. That's been the criticism of Michigan all year. They have played probably the weakest schedule of all the remaining top 5 teams. The only reason I didn't include it as an official weakness was because they did just beat Penn State. So it's hard to sit here and go, it just beat Penn State, but they have a weak schedule. So, but they have every other game outside of Penn State has pretty much been a cupcake game. But the outside noise. And again, these guys are people. that not being around to have your head coach on Saturdays does play a role. If it didn't, these guys would be wearing free hardball shirts. The offensive coordinator would be getting emotional after a big win over Penn State at a whiteout game. That guy obviously means something to that team. When you're struggling, your all line's not getting it going, you're not having a good run game, you can look to that guy and go, yeah, all right, we're going to figure this out. So I do think it plays a significant role in that. So we'll see how that's going to be a huge emotional game going against Ohio State and Ryan Day, who allegedly was the one that kind of started this whole investigation into the spy scandal, the sign stealing scandal. So that's going to be a huge emotional game that Harbaugh's not going to be able to be on the sideline for. How do they overcome that? Do they let that play a role into their play? Do we see a high penalty game in that game? I think it's just a fair thing to bring up is how do you handle the outside noise? Can you keep playing with this emotional high the whole time to finish out the season? Moving on, we have Ohio State. I'm curious to get your take on this one. What is the weakness for Ohio State?
Yeah, when I watched this OSU team, their defense overall is the strength of their team. But within that defense, though, one thing that strikes me as a negative is the defense's lack of sacks and turnovers they have garnered throughout the season so far. So they only have 19 sacks so far this season, and that's about 2 per game. And seeing as though they have, highly recruited and ranked players on that D line, you would think that number would be a lot higher, right? So they're not getting a lot of production out of their edge rushers and in that interior D line. Also, they have 6 picks this season. So, I think, the sacks with the turnovers kind of go hand in hand. We get more and more pressure. You should be able to get more turnovers. They're not turning over, or they're not getting a lot of turnovers for that turnover margin. And in comparison or in scope for the rest of the season, when you come up with these big games, sometimes that one turnover can determine that entire game. That one play, right? Get a turnover and the plus side of that field to go get points. So I think that is a weakness for that defense right now. Is they have to get the sacks up and get more picks. Also, watching their offense, I think it's clear that Kyle McCord is the weakness of that offense right now. I mean, given they have a bunch of talent, right? They have a bunch of first-round talent around him, right? But Kyle McCord right now, to me, is not a multiplier of his talent. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be top 3 pick regardless, right? But you see some games with Kyle McCord, and I kind of gave him a pass against, Notre Dame. I think they played him the 3rd week. Again, this is his first year starting, so I kind of didn't think anything of it. He did miss a couple of throws, and he looked rattled. I'm like, okay, it's his 3rd game, primetime games, whatever. But then, we watched him play against Penn State, which Penn State is a really good defense. I don't want to knock, him, McCord, against that Penn State offense, that Penn State defense. But the offense was sputtering, and most of it was because he just was missing throws. He was not, accurate. He had happy feet. He seemed as though he was just lost out there. And if you, don't watch a whole lot of OSU, you might think I'm crazy. You look at his, box score, and his stats are great. He has 2,700 yards passing, 20 touchdowns, and 4 picks. But in those prime time games here, he is struggling at times. Even against, Wisconsin, 2 picks for crazy throws. What are you doing, dude? So that for me, I guess with OSU's offense, Kyle McCord is definitely the weakness. And if they lose a game here towards the end of the season, or if they come out somehow sneak through and win the Big Ten and go in the playoff, I can foresee him being the reason why they end up losing. It's because you have a Ferrari outside of that quarterback position with Marvin Harrison Jr. Ibuka is a great talent. Henderson at running back is a great talent. Then you have McCord, who's just not experienced right now, and he could kind of hinder that offense.
Yeah, I mean, I really jumped on that because I know we've talked about throughout the season. I think Ohio State's got top 3 defense in the country. I know the sack production isn't where you're like, and the interception production isn't where you're like. but they are in the same way Michigan's like a suffocating offense. Ohio State's like a suffocating defense. I would be really, really curious to see what their percentage is on third and fourth down where they get off the field. It has to be among the top in all the country. They don't miss tackles. They're right assignment. They execute perfectly every time. It's not flashy defense. It's fundamental defense they play, which is kind of funny. And I don't want to jump too far ahead here, but it's almost like the exact opposite of Washington, where Washington has terrible fundamentals, but they make so many opportunistic plays it keeps them in the game. You know, a right time pick, a right time sack keeps them in. Versus Ohio State, from play 1 to play 70, I get efficiency. They are chasing dudes down. They're suffocating. They're not giving up yak. They're not missing tackles. Like, you know, running backs aren't getting to the second and third level. They usually are met at the line or slightly past the line. So I love their defense. But the weakness for me is definitely McCord. He has too many stretches where he just looks like an average quarterback, and that's kind of being generous there. You know, he's young. He can still get better week by week, and I think that Notre Dame game definitely gave him some confidence because before that he looked lost out there. But he definitely has looked much better now. But I do want to go back to that Notre Dame game where that's exactly what we're talking about in the weakness. There was like 3 opportunities in that game where Notre Dame defenders had their ball right on the hand in that final drive that could have just sealed the end of that game. Sometimes it's better lucky than good. They did drop them. They did go down. They did win that game. Absolutely. But again, if you're playing Georgia, they're not dropping those balls. If you're playing Michigan, they're not dropping those balls. You can't have those stretches, especially not on a game-winning drive. When your defense has pitched you a perfect game and kept it at 17, and you just need to go down and score, you can't hand the ball to the defense 3 times and just hope them to drop it. Because that won't happen when you're playing in Georgia. That won't happen when you're playing in Michigan. And I'd venture to guess it wouldn't happen when you're playing in FSU either. They're too good at what they do. So for me, that's the biggest thing. And I think, again, like you said, the numbers. When you're throwing to a receiver who could be a Heisman candidate, I mean, it's going to make it look better. Remember how Mac Jones looked at Alabama throwing to Devontae Smith? It's just you're going to look better. He had 3 touchdowns. What was it yesterday? Throwing to Marvin Harrison. On shit, Marvin Harrison did that. I could have made that throw. You could have made that throw. My sister could make that throw. You know, that dude is just so good. He gets the quarterback right even when he's wrong. So that's the biggest thing for me. It's an inexperienced thing. It's a young thing. He's still going to improve. I expect him to still improve. I think next year he's going to be even better. But we're not looking at next year. We're looking at the rest of this season and the playoffs. Moving on, I think we got 2 teams left. Florida State, what's their weakness?
So Florida State, they have talent, but I have on here, do they have as much talent as the other top 5 teams? And I say that because they had a few scares, especially a few weeks ago against Boston College. Or I don't know if it's a few weeks ago, but they almost lost the game to Boston College. And I watched a few of their games, and again, like, I don't have, this is more like just one-off notes, but when I watch the game with with the eye test buzzword, they just don't seem as though they have much talent as a Georgia or a Michigan. You know what I mean? Like, I try to envision, like, how would this Florida State team pair up with a Georgia? And I think that Georgia would win by like 30. You know, this is going off the eye test. I did dig deeper into their numbers, and I think that their defensive unit is probably their weakest unit. Even though, like, their points per game allowed is great. They only give up 17 points. And then you kind of ask yourself, well, who have they played, though? They beat LSU at the beginning of the season, which was a great win. But who else have they played? And then you look at their yards allowed per game. They're giving up 333 yards a game, which is a good amount of yards. And once we talk about the strengths of the top 5 teams, you will get a better scope or, context of how many yards or how bad their defense can be at times. But to me, it comes down to, do they have enough of the blue chip talent to go against a Georgia or a Michigan? And even though the points allowed per game is good, 17 points, they're giving up a lot of yards, which could come back and haunt them in a top 5 matchup.
Yeah. And And for those wondering, look, you guys said, hey, you said talk about their strengths. Don't worry. If you're watching the podcast episode, we'll begin to that. If you're watching this as a segment, you're going to have to wait till it comes out. But for me, the weakness for them is, I think you touched on it perfectly. It's the strength of schedule. I do think they have stellar blue chip players. I like Travis. I like Johnny. I like Keon Coleman has blown me away this season. Frank Verse on the defensive line's been stellar. I think they're almost a little top heavy. But again, the problem is who have they played? Like you mentioned, they beat LSU, number 6 LSU, or no, I'm sorry, number 5 LSU to start the year. And then they beat Clemson, who was unranked when they played. That's it. Those are their biggest wins. They're eking out wins against the U. They're eking out wins against Boston College, and Wake Forest wasn't much. So as good as they may be, it's hard. Like you said, you got to do an eye test. I can't pin them up against a Florida or another good team they played. I'm sorry, I think they did before, but I can't pin them up against a great team they played and be like, oh, well, see, here's how they face against this top 10 team later in the season, and they look fantastic. They seem, again, I mentioned they seem very top heavy to me. But also, I really do love their head coach, Mike Norvell. I think he should be in consideration for Coach of the Year. He's coached his ass off with that team. But yeah, again, I'm curious to see how they fare in the playoffs. They're either going to do well and rise to the moment, or they're going to get embarrassed as a team that hasn't played anyone all year and get blown out by Georgia by 30. So I don't think there's an in between with this team. It's such a boom or bust team.
Yep, agreed.
Moving on to our last one here, Washington Huskies, a team we picked in the preseason. We did a whole video on. We love them coming into the year. What's the weakness of the Huskies?
Yeah, this one's a little bit easier. I think it's clear cut. It's their defense, man. Defense does not exist in the Pac-12. Like they just don't play defense there. They're giving up 410 yards a game. And 24 points a game, dude. Like they're lucky they have like one of, if not the best overall offense in the country, because like they are just letting anyone score at like will. So yeah, this was an easier answer. It's clearly their defense is their biggest weakness.
Yeah, I agree. I was watching the game yesterday, and it's, again, every Washington game has felt like a must-see this year just because of how exciting that offense is. But it's hard not to notice. Like they're having to fight now every game to win. They have been fortunate to make opportunistic plays at the right moment. A key pick, there was a moment yesterday where they had an interception, almost returned for a touchdown, would have like sealed the game for them, and the dude just dropped it on the 1 yard line. Not even fucking close to scoring. And thankfully, they did get a safety on the next play. But yeah, if they get to the playoffs and they're not as opportunistic as they have been, it could get ugly. Again, I don't think they'll get blown out because their offense is too good. Their offense is too good to get blown out. But I see it very hard for them to win a playoff game with the way their defense is currently. All right, let's flip it. We'll do an reverse order since we're on Washington. For those that have just watched this segment, if it does a segment for you, thanks for tuning in to tell us what you think. What do you agree with us? What do you disagree? Who has a chance to win this whole thing? If you're watching on the podcast, we are going to flip right into the strengths, going in reverse order this time. Can you tell me what the strength of Washington is?
Yeah, so we kind of already hit on it, but it's their offense, right? Led by Michael Penix Jr. You got Rome Odunze or Dunze, if I always say that name wrong. Sorry, Rome. Jalen Polk and Dylan Johnson back there in the backfield. They're putting up 504 yards a game. That's sixth best in the country. They're putting up 41 points a game. That's fifth best in the country. They can score at will, man. They can score at will, and it's a good thing that they can, because as we just talked about, their defense is just like butter. Anyone can go through it. So it's a great thing. They're being led by, I feel like it's almost safe to say a Heisman finalist, other than there's a Heisman hopeful, in Michael Penix Jr., and that's the clear that offense just runs that entire team, man.
Yeah, very easy to see. It's the best. Absolutely. Yeah. I love all facets of their offense. They even had a tight end. What was it, Overwater yesterday, I think was his name, who was making plays, a 6-year senior making one-handed fucking catches, convert third downs. I love the tenacity of their left tackle, number 55. I don't remember his name off the top of my head. Michael Penix Jr. looks like the left-handed Lamar Jackson to me. I don't know why he does, but he always just he looks so much like him, like physically speaking, like a left-handed Lamar. The way they throw is almost identical. I know he doesn't have the athletic ability of Lamar, but it's funny to me. Anyway, I know kind of a little bit of a concern for the offense coming into the year was their run game. Johnson has looked spectacular. He's really turned it on the past couple of weeks and just put the team on his back when they needed it, converted long third downs or set them up on third and shorts, or had like a back-breaking big run, which you love to see. Again, obvious for me, it's the offense. They have so many weapons there. Moving on up here to the east side. Tell us about Florida State. What's the strength of Florida State?
Yeah, so we kind of talked about it, but I think their remaining schedule for at least the regular season is a strength. Like the ACC is not that strong this year. If they just do what they need to do, take care of business, you know what I'm saying? They should go out and they should make the playoffs. Just win out, do what you need to do, beat the teams who you need to beat, and just get there. I also love their offense. They're led by experienced quarterback and Jordan Travis. He's a leader of that team. They're not as high powered as a Washington offense, but they do their job, man. They get 440 yards a game. Is actually more per game than Washington. Or no, I'm sorry. I'm losing my mind here. They get 445 yards a game, so it's 23rd best in the country. They put up 38 points a game, which is 13th best in the country. So again, another high-powered offense that kind of carries this team here. And again, if they just take care of what they need to, they're an easy shoe-in for the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. I'll say, to me, it almost look like an NFL stock on offense. I really love the way they run. Makes a lot of star power there. Keon Coleman has definitely surprised me. I thought he was coming as like just a speed dude, transferring from, I think it was Michigan State. He was averaging 17 yards of reception there. He has looked like a true X receiver. He looks like a number one dude. I think Johnny Wilson is, again, enough talk about that he showed as a 6'7" receiver. He looks like the second coming of Mike Evans to me. The running back, Trey Benson, veteran leadership, who's, again, got to be one of the top backs in the country, who really doesn't get a whole lot of attention. But yeah, that offense has looked spectacular. Like we mentioned, Mike Norvell seems like a coach of the year candidate, and he possibly should win it. He's improved that roster every year. They look like they're stable for the long run. Again, another team defensively, they just seem to be good fundamentally. They are top heavy that we mentioned. I really like their offense. I like their blue chip players. I think as long as they stay healthy, I know they just lost their center potentially for the season, but as long as they can stay healthy the rest of the way, I think they can make the playoffs. And from there, anything can happen. But like we mentioned in the weakness portion, they're either going to get there and rise to the moment because they haven't played anybody, or they're going to get there and get blown out. So that for me, the strength is their blue chip players. All righty. Now tell me about what you think about for Ohio State. What's the strength for Ohio State?
Yeah, Ohio State's strength is definitely their defense right now. Their defense is second best in the country in points allowed. They're giving up 10 points a game. They're fourth best in yards allowed. They're giving up 262 yards a game. And then you marry that with their offensive threats, which is another strength for them. I mean, we know who they have. We kind of talked about that in the weakness segment. We don't have to go through it again here. But they have a lot of talent around that QB spot. So I think the defense, and if McCord can just be a good game manager and protect the ball and get to where it needs to be, which they have been for the most part throughout the entire season and worked out well, they're going to be, if they can somehow beat Michigan the last week of the season, sneak into the playoffs with their defense, they could make some noise.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think their defense, to me, is top 3 of the country, like I mentioned in the weakness portion. It's going to be, for any time I watch them, they're just so fundamentally sound. They don't miss tackles. They don't allow yak. They don't let running backs get to the third level. They may not be putting up the sack and interception numbers you'd like to see from a top defense, but they just do all of the little things right that makes me feel like they're a top 3 defense in the country. Sometimes it's better to just do that, get off the field on third down, make a punt, than it is to have that big moment of a sack or a turnover. They have to be getting off the field at like a 70% clip. Like, there's no way that they're giving up that many third downs. And I'd be really curious to see the numbers on it. We don't have it in front of us, but that's, to my opinion, why I think they're the top defense in the country. The other strength, obviously, is Marvin Harrison Jr. Your starting quarterback may not be fantastic, but when you get a guy like that, a Heisman caliber player at receiver, he's going to make your quarterback look right when he's wrong. He just does all the things right. I mean, like, there was a play yesterday, I think it was the first touchdown of the sideline, where the corner was chest to chest with him in a position to make a play on the ball, and he didn't show his hands until the absolute last minute, which made the corner have no opportunity to make a play on the ball. It's little things like that make a difference in between an incompletion or a touchdown. Or I think it was a post from the slot that was a second touchdown. I'm sorry, the second touchdown was up the sideline, third touchdown was a slot post. And again, there's just so much separation. I mean, like I said before, I can make that throw, you can make that throw. Go on. I thought you had.
Oh no! I was just agreeing. Oh no, sorry. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So to me, Marvin Harrison Jr. and that defense is the clear strength of the team to me. Is it good enough to win it all? I don't know. Maybe you guys can go down in the comment section and tell us what you think. But to me, that's definitely the bread and butter of that team. I'm sorry, we're not even mentioning the running back. Ohio State's got
Trey.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Trey Henderson.
If he can stay healthy, he's one of the better backs in the conference and maybe even the country. And then they did lose Mayan. He was the big back they have, number 3. He's out for the rest of the season with a knee injury, but they have another big guy back there, Chip, I think we call him, or I can't remember his actual name. I'm sorry, guy. But he's number 19. He's another guy. He's like 240 pounds, a bruiser. He was a transfer from Arizona State, where he played linebacker, and he transferred to Ohio State last season. They put him in the backfield because the backfield is just everyone's just beat up. But yeah, if Henderson can stay healthy, man.
Yeah. Plus, I'm high on Kate Stover. I know you aren't too fond of him. I'm pretty high on him. I like him. It doesn't mention all the plethora of talents they have at Ohio State. Moving on to we get to the top 2 now. Say something nice about the team you hate up north. Give me the strengths of Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, I think Michigan is a very complete team. I mean, I think they're the best team in the Big Ten right now. And the biggest strength is their defense. They have the best defense in the country. They are first in fewest points allowed with 7.5 points a game, a touchdown. They are first in yards allowed, fewest yards allowed, with 232 yards a game. They're getting turnovers. They have 12 picks so far this season, so pretty much 1.1 per game. And that number is top 15 in the country. Not many teams move the ball at them. As we saw on Saturday against Penn State, Penn State couldn't do squat against that defense. And again, you can kind of pull up the strength of schedule argument and say, well, who else have they played outside of Penn State? But Penn State was still a top 10 team. And Penn State couldn't get nothing on them. So that Michigan defense is stingy, man. It's beyond stingy. Like I said, they're the best defense in the country.
Yeah. I'm going to go a slightly different direction. I'm going to say the quarterback. I mean, J.J. McCarthy, like we mentioned before, with Penix being a Heisman candidate, J.J. McCarthy has squarely put his name into that conversation as well. He's been a top 3 quarterback in college this year, and he can win using his legs too, like we just saw versus Penn State when things weren't going right with his arm. Said, fuck it, put the team on my back and just took off with his legs, made things happen. I think we got a guy that's capable of doing that. I mean, you're always going to be in every game. We mentioned last season our concern with J.J. McCarthy was the inexperience, and he's clearly grown so much since the last time he made the playoffs. I can't wait to see what they do when they get there. Now, they have a guy who's been there before. He's seen it. They have Harbaugh. I will just throw out one of the curious things to me has been the absence of, I believe his name's Dylan Edwards, the running back number 7, who was so
Mm,
crucial for them last year down the run to make the playoffs and to make some noise in the playoffs. I mean, just the absence of him. I mean, I don't get it, but something's definitely going on there. I'm assuming he'll probably transfer after this year. But he was phenomenal last year, and they haven't even used him this year. So
yeah.
let's get up to the number one team and the most obvious one here. What is the strength of the Georgia Bulldogs?
I have here in my notes the entire team question mark question mark question mark. I mean, they don't have a hole anywhere like on that roster and their numbers. Uh, I mean, everything is great.
Mm-hmm.
um, I wouldn't be surprised. I said this during the other segment. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they three-peat this season, right? If they can make it through their gauntlet of the rest of their um regular season here.
Mm-hmm.
But their offensive numbers. They're fifth in the country for yards per game. They get 505 yards per game. They're sixth in points scored with 41 points a game. And then you marry that with their defense. Their defense is they give up the ninth fewest yards per game, 290 yards a game, and they gave up the sixth fewest points. They gave up 15.6 points, so 16. Like it's crazy, man. They have a top 10 unit on offense and defense, man. Is like where how that's why I put their entire team, even their coaching staff. Kirby Smart is like one of the best, if not the best coach right now in the entire country, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I put the entire team, and those are the numbers to kind of back it up.
Yeah, I agree. And why don't you guys again down to the comment section, tell us what you think. Is Georgia going to three-peat this year? But I'm right there with you. I didn't even write a strength on there because it was like the whole team. There's not a glaring hole on that roster anywhere. And since they are so great, we don't want to just sit here and tell you about how great Georgia is all the time. We talked about in the pre-show, and I'm just going to throw a little bit of a prediction here. I do think we see a regression from Georgia next year. I think they have so much talent that's going to the NFL. They're going to have to rely on some inexperienced guys, which just is what it is. It happened with Alabama this year. We saw that they lost a bunch of talent. They got to rely on new quarterback, new offense, everything pretty much. I think we see that from Georgia next year. I don't think they're going to go for a four-peat, but yeah, I don't see any holes. I mean, maybe you can mention the receivers, but even the receivers that we've seen have been so fucking good. They still have Brock Bowers. So yeah, that roster top down is so well built. I think they're the easy favorite to win it all. Again, if they can survive their gauntlet of a season, they still have to play Tennessee. They still have to play Alabama. Then you're probably gonna have to play Alabama again in the Big Ten. I'm sorry, not Big Ten, the SEC championship game. So, but tell us what you think, guys. Is Georgia going to three-peat it? Does someone else have a better chance than Georgia right now? Is there a weakness on Georgia that we're not seeing? Maybe a Georgia fan can hop in and let us know. But until next time, if you're watching the segment, it's been Emmett, it's been B. Thank you guys for tuning in. And if you're sticking around for the last segment, we will be going through a little bit of a speed run, I want to say, just about because we've kind of already touched on it several times, and we just now with new information want to harp on it again a little bit. But what are the Giants' plans with Daniel Jones going forward? Now we have an injury. What does that injury mean for the future of the Giants and Daniel Jones? I'll let you go first, B.
Yeah, dude. There's so many options, right? And if you guys haven't seen our latest or our most recent Daniel Jones segment, go ahead. We can probably put it somewhere in our YouTube video.
Yeah, they're gonna go up there or
We kind
something.
of talked through like and we kind of went through the various reasons behind his contract and why the Giants gave him money and like what potential outs could the Giants have. And Daniel Jones does have a potential out in his contract in 2025.
Mm-hmm.
And on the flip side, if the Giants were to cut him in 2024, I think that's a $69 million dead cap hit there. So it's going to be very expensive to do. It's a big hit. It's a big hit. But with Daniel Jones, unfortunately tearing his ACL, and we brought this up in the beginning part in our news of the week segment. But there's rumors that the GM and head coach are on a hot seat right now, right? So you would have to think to yourself, with Daniel Jones last, another clean house, right? I think this is already his third head coach, third or fourth. I think it might be third,
I think
maybe.
so.
But you would think, right, the owner, if let's say, hypothetically, if the owner were to fire the GM and head coach, that they will go out and get a quarterback in the 2024 draft. You would think that. So then that brings up another point. Okay, so say you draft a quarterback in 2024. What do you do with Daniel Jones? Do you cut him in 2024 and just eat that cap hit? Or do you just create an awkward scenario and just own it and say, hey, we know Daniel Jones won't come back until middle to late part of next season because he's still in recovery with his knee. Bring in a rookie quarterback, let him play, and then after a few weeks, when Daniel Jones is cleared to return, you could have that decision of playing Daniel Jones or just keep on playing the rookie, right? And the more that I kind of say this out loud and think it through, I think it's an obvious choice. I think they have to go draft a quarterback now, right? I mean, they have to draft a quarterback in 2024. You're started out. And I think it just makes more sense. Like, you don't need to play Daniel Jones at all next season, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's hurt. You can use that excuse in your back pocket. It's like, hey, we're going to draft a rookie because you're hurt, and that rookie quarterback's probably going to be good or be the future franchise guy because they probably will have a top 4 pick. You don't need to play Jones. And in 2025, when the new league starts, cut him. And then you're out. So those are my thoughts, man. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, well, before I get mine, I would like to talk to our viewers. Go down to the comment section, guys, and I kind of ask you a couple things, but pick anyone you want. Tell us your thoughts on this. Do you think the Giants should take a rookie quarterback? And if they should, tell us which one you would love to see them take. I think this is a new wrinkle in the conversation, though. I'll also write down that once you guys give us a like and a subscribe. We do this every week. We love making these videos. We love talking to you guys in the comment sections. But I do think the Daniel Jones injury adds a new wrinkle to the situation, because before you can kind of make the argument of, you can make the argument of, well, we shouldn't draft a quarterback. He's just going to sit this year and blah, 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 right? Well, we only use the Kyler Murray example in relation to this. Kyler Murray towards ACL about halfway through the year last year. He's just now making his return, give or take mid-November. So now you're not going to have Daniel Jones for the first 9 games. Also, you're starting an undrafted free agent rookie. Probably not going to win a whole lot of games the rest of the way. We already talked about in the News of the Week segment injuries that they have. They have Evan Neal's hurt right now. Walker's hurt right now. Waller's hurt, I'm sorry. Yes, and now you have Daniel Jones, who's out for the season. They very much before with Daniel Jones were probably going to be around a 10 to 15 pick, probably. You're now looking at a potential top 3 pick. If the Giants are at number 2, how do you pass up on a quarterback, for Daniel Jones, who's not going to be there for the first 9 weeks? It now kind of erodes that argument. You might as well just draft a quarterback, see what you got in the first 9 weeks, and see how it goes. And if he plays well, you do what the Tennessee Titans did and say, hey, we know gave this big contract Ryan Tannehill. We know gave this big contract Daniel Jones. You're now our backup quarterback. After you cut him and you let him go find wherever he wants to be, it saves you the money. But if you draft a rookie and he's playing well, if you draft Drake May, he's playing well, how do you turn from Drake May and go, all right, well, I know you've done well for us for the first 9 weeks, rookie. Sit on the bench. We're going to go pay the $40 million man who can't beat anybody for us. So, to me, I think that is a huge wrinkle, because before you can make the argument of, well, we're paying him a lot of money, he's healthy, we should start him. Right? If he has to miss the first 9 weeks anyway, it kind of almost just makes sense to draft a quarterback and let him play and see what you got in that first. And this is going to be like the deepest quarterback draft. I think we've talked about it a billion times before. Deepest quarterback draft we've ever seen. I'm already on record for saying I think this draft will set the record for most quarterbacks taken in the first round of a draft in NFL history. There's just so many guys. It feels like you just can't go wrong with picking one, especially if you're going to have a top 5 pick. It just seems almost like malpractice not to. But that's what I think. I think for the future of Daniel Jones on the Giants, I think this pretty much, unfortunately for him, does solidify the end, because you can make the argument. He gets a chance. He can show you something different, turn around. Hey, whatever. It was a bad team behind me. You guys drafted me some talent. We're good now. If you already have to miss 9 weeks, what's the chances he ever starts for them again? my guess is probably slim to none. There's just no way. But
yeah, it's slim. They
yeah,
have no benefit to playing them either. Like they can easily just make him set the bench the entire year next year, and then cut them in 2025, and only take I think it goes like a $20 million hit instead of $69 million dead cap hit. So
yeah, exactly.
It's a
which is much more
difference. It's like whatever.
Yeah,
and you get the benefit of if you do draft a Drake May, you have your new franchise guy.
Yep, exactly.
Yep.
It makes too much sense not to do. Again, before you can make the argument of, well, he's healthy, play him, you're paying him. But now that argument's gone, I can't see any justification for sticking with Daniel Jones. So
yeah, same here.
I think
I'm actually interested to hear from like any Giants fans out there. Like, put down the comments. I want to hear. Are you guys married to Daniel Jones? Like, how would you feel, right, if the Giants did take a new quarterback and move on from Jones in 2025? Yeah, so put that in the comments. I'm really intrigued. I don't know. I don't have a good temperature check of what the Giants fan base think of a Daniel Jones. Like, I don't know if they're sick of him, if they're in favor of him. It's kind of like, So go ahead, tell me, man, for sure.
Yeah, but yeah, I agree with that. Let us know in the comment section what your thoughts are with Daniel Jones. I think that's going to wrap us up for this week, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in and bearing with us for this hour 20 we've been recording now. If you're checking out just the segments, thanks for checking out the Daniel Jones segment. We have a couple more previous that we've talked about. Go check those out. But until next time, you guys can find us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Spotify. But I've been Emmett. This has been my favorite co-host, B. And we will see you guys next time.
See ya.